What's up everyone, Brady Figuel here coming at you with a review of the new Dark Tranquility record, Endtime Signals. It was released a week ago now, August 16th. It is following up 2020's Moment, and since then there has been some lineup changes. So much so actually that lead singer Michael Stan is actually the only original member left in this band. Which I feel like is kind of dangerous territory for the band, if I'm being honest, because take a band like Sepultura, for instance, who doesn't have any original members left in the band. And yes, Paulo Jr. has been in the band as the bassist since '84, I believe, who I feel like people just don't take as seriously anymore. Even though Paulo Jr. has been in the band since '84, I feel like just this label of not having any original members left can be a bit detrimental to a band. Yes, I know Michael Stan is still an original member, but I feel like the melodic death metal genre here, the vocals aren't really, again, very much of identity factors. This is a very guitar-focused subgenre. So the question then becomes, will Michael Stan's vocals on this album be enough to still make it stand out, without sounding stagnant or frozen in time, or stale, I guess? And just right out of the gates with the first track, Shivers and Voids, I think they actually start this album off in a way that really does that. It does really stand out, and it sounds different and fresh rather than dated. I really like how they use dissonance to their advantage on this song, which in itself isn't something that's super prevalent in melodic death metal. It weaves in and out of those dissonant sounding notes with those more traditional, more triumphant sounding notes, and it has a really cool contrast. And track 3, Neuronal Fire, is one that definitely does have those typical melodic death metal style chord progressions, but it does it with these pianos that kind of hover and like chime in the background, while you still have those melodic death metal style riffs weaving in and out under it. I just think this song has such a unique feeling because of that, because of just the layering of the different melodies. I like Unforgivable as well, track 2. Just that murky, churning intro riff I think is really cool sounding. The chorus of the song also has a really nice guitar melody that's a bit dialed back in the mix, but you can still make it out. Drowned Out Voices is another one that embraces dissonance quite a bit. One of my favorite riffs on the album opens that song. And Not Nothing is the first taste we get of some clean vocals on this album. This is another song I like. Again, it has a cool contrast in the sense that you have the heavier parts that have become regular listening on this album at this point, but then you have these really dramatic clean vocal sections. And Michael Stan's vocal performance on this song, especially his clean vocals, I actually really enjoy. This might just be the most emotional song on the record. At least it's the most emotional sounding in the way that the vocals are sung and the guitars are played. But unfortunately, once you get to One of Us Is Gone, this is where the album starts to lose me a little bit. While I respect this song because obviously the lyrics are very deep and meaningful, and I like what they are saying, I just think the chord progressions on this song were a bit cheesy. No, I don't care that it's clean vocals only, but just the way this song moves and with its cheesy melodies, I feel like I'm listening to a church band play a Bible song. The Last Imagination, the next track, is another one that I find myself skipping every time just because it takes this chord progression in the intro, which in itself is already a bit uninteresting, and just beats it to death the entire song. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the whole song has the same chord progression playing, just in different ways with different instruments. It just makes it so repetitive. Like I was tired of hearing that chord progression after about a minute and a half in. Our Disconnect is one that just doesn't have a lot of dynamics pretty much the entire song. Even though there are actually some interesting musical ideas at times, like I think that bridge is decently creative, but it just isn't climactic enough to save the song. I'd give that same criticism to the sluggish Wayward Eyes too. Again, just the way the song moves, it doesn't keep me invested. Enforced Perspective is a song that will fit like a glove if you're just looking for a straight to the point melodic death metal song, a classic style mellow death song, I should say, with its at the gate style riffing and its harmonized solo near the end and the fast skank beat style drumming. And closing track, False Reflection, is one that kind of gives me the same vibes I said earlier about One of Us Is Gone, but it's a little better. It does feel a bit more lively, I guess, although again, just the vocal cadences and the melodies in the song, I think they're so corny. The one true beacon in the second half of this album is the second to last track on here, A Bleaker Sun. The way this song starts with that just apocalyptically heavy off-time riff and just flows effortlessly into that more melodic section which has these again piano parts that just feel like a big wall of sound coming down on you. The song is just so smooth sounding despite its conflicting sounds. It also has my favorite solo on the record, which so far have been alright, they just haven't really stuck out a whole lot to me. But the solo on this song is great. It fits perfectly with the mood of the song, and it just adds a extra dimension that actually feels like it is adding to the song. Although while we are on the topic of solos for this album, I do have to shout out the solo in the song The Last Imagination. Even though I was very critical of that song, that solo is just the breath of fresh air that song needed more of, but unfortunately didn't have enough of. Great melodies there, and it really adds to the song in that case. So I mean, overall, is it a bad record? No, definitely not a bad record. When I take into account the 6, maybe 7 tracks on this album that I really do enjoy and will be coming back to, versus the 2, maybe 3 songs on this album that I really didn't like, these end up being the hardest albums for me to actually come to a final score on. Because, at least for me, as you just heard, there is a pretty wide spectrum of quality on this album. But I think my final consensus, and somewhat blunt consensus, for this album is that it's not bad, but it's not their best. Endtime Signals gets a 17 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you guys very much for watching, and feel free to subscribe for more rock and metal related content. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.